The new Axial Lacuna fusion rifle can be crafted to hit a 39% faster charge time, gain a 50% damage buff in PvE, or even be the fastest 100 range stat fusion available off spawn in PvP. It's the Precision Frame Solar Fusion Rifle with Ikora's face on it from Destiny 2 The Final Shape, and despite all the crazy stuff I just said about it, I didn't initially think it was going to be a fusion rifle for me. I'll talk about that disappointment at the end of the video, but first, I want to talk about what changed my mind about Axial Lacuna. After crafting a very specific role, I realized I just wasn't missing shots anymore. You see, this isn't a fusion with exciting new Final Shape perks, but it is perhaps the most consistent, craftable, easy to acquire, long-range PvP fusion and higher handling, big damage PvE fusion. I'm Lego Flash, and this is Axial Lacuna, the craftable fusion found within the pale heart of the Traveler. If you don't have all your red borders yet, I highly encourage you to grab the ghost bounties from Micah 10 that show Axial Lacuna deep sights as a potential reward. Between that and the pale heart engrams that drop from overthrow while completing the bounties, I had this fusion crafted week 1, and then I rolled everything on it. So let's talk stats, perks, and then all the god rolls for PvP and PvE, because it's going to depend on what kind of player you are. Axial is a precision frame, so think main ingredient and Epicurean when it comes to charge time and damage for this 7-bolt burst. Except it's solar and somehow the first set in stone legendary solar precision frame fusion ever? That may feel like a big deal, but I want PvE players to check something out before we get too far down this road. While there's some pretty great stuff coming up in the perks, this chart by Mossy Max lays out how precision frames are statistically the worst fusion rifle PvE damage in all of Destiny 2. There isn't a single enemy type they do good against over another fusion rifle, even with buffed reload speeds. Now, like I said, the perks are gonna change things, so stick with me, but don't just hear this is the first ever solar precision fusion rifle and think that's big stuff. The truth is, there hasn't really been a reason for more precision fusions. What precisions are known for is recoil. A precision frame means the weapon's recoil pattern is more predictably vertical. It's one of the reasons main ingredient was so popular for so long. Because of this, you can pretty much ignore that recoil direction stat, which is already at a pretty standard 76. This means no extended barrel, chamber compensator, or arrowhead break. You don't need them. Outside of some high handling, the rest of the stats on Axial Lacuna are extremely standard at base as well. Middle of the road stability, range, and aim assist for a precision frame, with one stat point of zoom over the Epicurean to barely set it apart. So this is gonna come down to perks, and we've got some never before seen combos to go over, including a new origin trait, Dealer's Choice, which kind of acts like a built-in thresh perk for your super energy. Every kill you get about an extra 1 to 5% super energy depending on how many pale heart weapons you have equipped. It's nothing crazy, but it is a nice little bonus that allowed me to get my super early on several Trials of Osiris matches I played. You can also stack this with the Winning Hand artifact perk that makes Dealer's Choice weapons do a Firefly-like explosion. But unfortunately, this requires precision or rapid kills, and the fusion doesn't usually fall into either of those categories. But there are plenty of very interesting perks for a fusion rifle here. Keep Away is a massive addition for a fusion rifle in PvP. I can't wait to talk about it, but I want to go over some PvE stuff real quick because there are two things precision frame fusions have never seen, and one thing that no other fusion rifle has ever had. First, precision frames have never had a legit auto reload perk, not even Envious Assassin or Overflow. But with Axial Lacuna, we've got one I like even better, Reconstruction. Every 4 seconds, you get another 10% of your magazine refilled, every 3.5 seconds if enhanced. In fact, the only other two fusions to have this are Techion Force and Arvindil, and only Techion has easy 4th column damage perks to pair with it. Which brings me to the second thing precision fusions have never had in PvE, and that's Controlled Burst. 20% increased damage and 10% faster charge time for just landing all your bolts on a target, or getting the kill, but there's no elimination needed. This is great. Combining these two perks together, an auto reload perk and an auto damage perk, is extremely common on other fusion archetypes for the ease of use and damage, but as I mentioned in the beginning with the stats, precision frames are the worst at overall damage, doing the same as other archetypes that have either Envious Assassin or Overflow to pair with Controlled Burst. So it just being here on Axial Lacuna is not enough. Scatter Signal, Nox Perennial 5, the Eremite, Loaded Question, and Glacioclasm can all do this and are all better options for damage. So I want to bring your eyes over to the combo that no other fusion can do. cornered and controlled burst. Now, I know I'm dissing cornered all the time in PvP, but in PvE, it is up all the time. Just 2 enemies within 15 meters for constant kickstart levels of speed. That's a no-brainer. Eremite has both cornered and controlled bursts in its perk pool, but they're in the same column, so you can't combine them. Axial Lacuna can roll both cornered and control burst together, stack their charge times, and add in the extra damage buff without ever getting a single elimination. That's a 24% charge time and 20% damage buff for free. This is the unique PvE perk combo here, but there is one last PvE combo I like even more, and that's cornered and enhanced surrounded. Now this is found on Deliverance and Mida's Reckoning too, so it's nothing new, but it is a devastating 15% faster charge time with a 47% damage buff. And they both require you to be surrounded by enemies, so they work perfectly together. The caveat is it has to be 3 enemies for the surrounded to work, but it is a go-to fusion combo for me on many raid bosses and dungeon encounters thanks to my Mida's Reckoning. And even though I like that weapon more, Axial Lacuna makes this combo available to everyone without needing to touch a raid. That's gonna be so big for many of you because enhanced surrounded and cornered on Axial wrecks just about anything. It is a laughable amount of damage. You can even pair it with Reconstruction, as this is the only fusion rifle in the game that has a good auto overflowing magazine perk with surrounded on any frame of fusion rifle. So I could see this fusion landing in some elite player loadouts for certain encounters because of this. Before we get to PvP perks, quick shout out to Demo, Desperate Measures, Vorpal, and Frenzy. They're all fine PvE combos for either sticking in the action or frequent ability usage. Demo gets a ton of grenade energy back, but I don't like using special for ad clear. Frenzy and Vorpal are both good chunks of damage, but I don't think they compare to everything else we just talked about. Then there's Incandescent, which I don't get Incandescent on a special weapon. I went on a rant discussion about this with Fran on the Destiny Community Podcast the other week. You can attempt to convince me in the comments, but this is a special ammo weapon for the big guys. Why would you use it to clear the room? Okay, PvP, starting with Keep Away in the 3rd column. This is a big deal. Anything that decreases your accuracy cone is great, but a perk that says decreases your accuracy cone growth is even better, particularly when dealing with weapons that fire several bullets or bolts in quick succession. Yes, that's right, for those who don't know, every bolt of this 7-bolt burst will tick off another accuracy cone growth tick, and in turn, the negative 5% accuracy cone growth effects of the Keep Away perk. The perk has been on my wish list for a while for this reason, and it's finally here. The accuracy cone growth buff of 5% sounds low, but it only seems that way because of a few things. 1, the activation is so low, so the benefits can't be too strong. You just stay 15 meters away from the enemy. 2, you're getting plus 10 range and plus 35 reload speed as well. And then 3, and most important, not many perks have accuracy cone growth effects because a little goes a long way. Everyone's beloved Under Pressure doesn't even have it. It just has initial accuracy cone effects. It doesn't change the growth as you fire your bolts. Firmly Planted does, but it's only about 8.5% on fusion, so it's still pretty small. While base Keep Away is only minus 5% accuracy cone growth, it gets more if you enhance it, bringing Keep Away to minus 7.5% growth. Extremely similar to Firmly Planted, except you don't have to crouch. This is what I want to emphasize because it was what changed things for me. I actually had to enhance Keep Away before I really felt the effects of it compared to running Firmly Planted, which is also found in the 3rd column. So if you tried it, if you tried Keep Away and weren't into it yet, you may want to try enhancing Keep Away before you make up your mind on this fusion. It made a huge difference for me. Think of it like this. It's a 50% buff on the best part of Keep Away. That's huge compared to what enhancing normally does. That said, if you crouch a lot, Firmly Planted is still the better perks. Many know the benefits, but to be clear, Firmly Planted also gives an initial minus 20% accuracy cone size, 10 stability, 15 handling, and better recoil control on top of the growth control we already talked about. That's a ton of stuff, so if you're sliding around all the time, this is going to be appealing. But I just want you to really examine your footage, or at minimum, think about the eliminations you are actually pulling off and were you actually crouched, because most of the time, I'm not. And so that's why Keep Away is so appealing. Not only that, but a lot of Firmly Planted benefits are recoil control, and that just doesn't matter at all on a precision frame like Axial Lacuna. Eye of the Storm is also a great PvP perk for accuracy. It's amazing when it kicks in, but it's not the kind of perk you can rely on for initial engagements, so I don't value it as much as others might. In fact, this is another perk where you have to think about the details. While minus 40% accuracy cone size and minus 17% accuracy cone growth are huge buffs, this perk kicks in linearly, starting at when you hit 80 shield HP and becoming max buffed at 0 shield HP. So it does kick in frequently, but it's not at the full buff right away. Fourth column, PvP perks. Yeah, this is where it falls apart a bit for me and where I had to really adjust my mindset. I tried every single one of these perks in PvP. Were there moments where Kickstart made this thing blazing fast? Sure. Were there moments Frenzy gave me 100 handling? Yeah. Could I pull off a double with Controlled Burst or Incandescent? Yeah, it's all possible, but what was good? What was up constantly? And the answer is so silly. You have to stay alive too long for Frenzy. Desperate Measures and Surrounded are too high a requirement for anything meaningful. Kickstart doesn't even change the bolts to eliminate if the enemy is over 5 resil, and you have to have your fusion out for 2 seconds before it procs. I didn't really love any of this. So you know what was the one perk that actually helped a bit? Vorpal. I'm not even talking about taking out a super. Sure, it helped me here or there, but I literally decided to run Vorpal for the +5 stability from enhancing it. It's so silly, but it's constantly up. Think of it like having half an adept stability mod on. So I'll take it. Now, of course, many will still like Kickstart. I'm not knocking it for others. It's just that 1.5 seconds required to hold it and be running don't fit into the way I play the game. And for many players out there, it will cause you to make some very stupid plays. But hear me, I'm not talking to everyone. There are people that are very, very good with it. If you are a big Kickstart fan, a 100 range precision frame with Kickstart is very good. This is essentially a plug one replacement for those who loved it for Kickstart and never got the role they wanted. So let's jump into the god rolls, starting with the Axial Lacuna PvE god rolls. We're gonna roll this 3 ways, and for every one of them, you want speed and handling. You've got 60 range built in, so we're going Fluted Barrel for the +15 handling, Accelerated Coils for a bit of speed in exchange for some damage, and a Charge Time Masterwork for straight free speed. I could see someone going Enhanced Battery over Accelerated Coils or even Liquid Coils for just a bit more damage out of the gate. I don't think there's really a wrong or right here, as your overall DPS will depend on the encounter and the rest of your loadout. So just choose what feels best for you, but those are the top 3. For the perks, my favorite role by far is Cornered and Enhanced Surrounded. You have to enhance it for the total 47% damage buff, and you can bump it to 50% if you run Liquid Coils. This thing melts, and as soon as I took the roll off to test other PvE rolls, I missed having it. Incredibly strong, and this is the only non-raid fusion rifle the combo is found on. Now, if you want the unique roll we talked about, you're going to want the Cornered and Controlled Burst combo that can only be found on Axial Lacuna. No other fusion has it. Once you add in Accelerated and the Charge Time Masterwork, you've got a total 31% faster charge time with all your bolts hitting 17.6% harder. Then finally, you've got what I think will become a select fusion for boss damage, the Enhanced Reconstruction and Enhanced Surrounded combo. This is the only fusion with Surrounded that gets a meaningful auto reload perk, and I can see it mattering a ton to those top players who need non-crit special ammo DPS where every second matters. Switching gears, I've got 2 main Axial Lacuna PvP god rolls. This will really depend on what kind of player you are, but I feel confident the majority of players will love this first roll as a consistent long-range fusion rifle you can always rely on. When I say always rely on, I mean I can't miss with this roll. I thought I would default back to some go-to fusions for me after this review, but I find Axial still on my character because I know that even with minimal effort, it's just never going to let me down. So, let's start with Full Bore, Projection Fuse, and a Charge Time Masterwork. Stability and recoil direction are near non-factors on this fusion. You want to push the strength of this weapon, the range. A Charge Time Masterwork does not take away any damage, despite the UI still leading you to believe it does, and we won't even miss a range Masterwork because we're going to throw Keep Away in the 3rd column. Enhance Keep Away at that, since as we talked about in the perk, this is going to give us a minus accuracy cone growth effect similar to Firmly Planted, except this time, we don't have to be crouched. The enhanced version of Keep Away also adds a touch of range, bringing us to an estimated 99 range when you need it. I want to add when you need it there because Some think that Keep Away is not a good perk on a fusion rifle because of the 15-meter requirement. I'm telling you, 15 to 20 meters is the sweet spot for this fusion. If you're hitting less than 15-meter shots, you have enough range for full damage without Keep Away, so you're set at any distance with this perk. For the last column, I'm going with Enhanced Vorpal. I know some people got some laughs on Twitter after seeing that, but it does add a bit of stability. Believe me, I would take literally anything else here, but there's nothing else of value for the way I play. This setup may feel super boring, and on the outside, it is. I was extremely frustrated that Keep Away was not in the 4th column, the stack with Firmly Planted, but just having it bring us to a 100 range fusion off the jump is good enough for me because this thing does not miss. So that's the standard roll for most that is going to feel amazing. Now, for the roll for all you speedsters, use the same first 3 perks, Full Bore, Projection Fuse, and Charge Time Masterwork, but throw on Enhanced Firmly Planted and Kickstart. You're going to be crouching all the time to use Kickstart, so might as well put on the bigger buff for doing so with Firmly Planted. You'll lose a touch of range, but really the accuracy is going to mean a lot more to you. With this setup, you'll be 4 bolting through 5 resil, but anyone above 5 resilience will still require 5 of your 7 bolts, and it won't change anything other than getting that 20% faster charge time. If you want to take that speed a step further, you can also run Cornered in the 3rd column and Kickstart in the 4th, giving you a 39% faster charge time when stacked with accelerated coils and a Charge Time Masterwork. I don't recommend you do this, as Cornered essentially only activates when you know you've messed up and are out of position for a fusion, but it is hilarious to fire faster than a rapid fire fusion with a precision frame that only requires 5 bolts to 1 burst, sometimes 4. So, where does Axial Lacuna land in the pantheon of fusion rifles? In PvE, you're right under all the greats that have overflowing magazines with controlled bursts, and even right under enhanced surrounded raid fusions like Mida's Reckoning. But this might be the most damage a non-raid legendary fusion can put out in PvE. Plus, it's got higher handling. It's easy to acquire, and you can craft exactly what you want. I expect it to be a sleeper pick, somewhere right in the A to S tier in PvE. In PvP, this is tough. I'm tempted to say I wouldn't place this in S tier due to the lack of speed perks in the 4th column, but ammo just isn't what it used to be in PvP anymore, and I don't find myself frequently using it for anything more than that single meaningful shot I depend on it for. On the flip side, we've got what is basically 3 ammo metas now: Comp, Trials, Quick Play, and they all play so very different that it's hard to give a meaningful tier ranking to any special weapon. I hope more than anything you walk away from this video knowing this fusion lies between the A to S tier in PvP 2 for its ease of use and consistency. Most of my frustration from this weapon really came from expecting more options for PvP, given this is the one fusion that has dropped in Destiny 2 out of the last 90 plus new weapons or revamps. 1. Let that sink in. 1 out of 90 since Scatter Signal. Once I let that go though, I was able to enjoy this fusion a whole lot more. So, if you made it to the end of this video, leave 1 or 1 fusion in the comments for me. And if you want to see more videos like this, feel free to hit subscribe. This has been Lucky the Flash. Until next time, GG.